Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
As ag a tre seo, as lesser Sheol seo, say Claare na Gael viscoil toya carnish. My name is Robert Cadine Carswell, Robert de Carslach.
Have you ever heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
And this is a bilingual programme called Claare na Gael, in which you'll hear something of the English language, as Angie Nias Clash and Perteniach Jane Gilg. And in it, too, you'll hear something of the Manx Gaelic, Chinian Amera, the mother tongue of Ellen Banning, the Isle of Man. As Bannacht and the Trish, William Gell notes a giant fuchsia tree at Ballure, and that was the subject of a sketch and a short description in a British PR article, The Gardener's Chronicle, in September of 1886, and that edition of The Gardener's Chronicle gives the starting point this time. Va skielen Jacob as Wilhelm Grimm, clouch hoiach se verl ons lior enmesich skielen a luchtai. Dat skielen kaart de loach, dat chit de mennik tachert en kwech, de mennik njauch inel eer granelish, rachlid as bass on downjes. Phil Gorn often suggests dancing round the kitchen to the music. Well, you may want to sit this one out. Shift, shift mice, move, move mice in Breton, fish, fish, logoden. And how these Breton mice shift. Tashu geishtach rish radio banning, stashu the nashun, viscoller scaliamach by Doulish, Ellen Banning. baritone rock band Red Cardell, joined by Fred Guichon on accordion and the vocal by Louise Ebrel. Fish, fish, logoden, move, move, mice, music for a pash pea. The Gardener's Chronicle was established in 1841 and it was published weekly on a Saturday. The edition for the 25th of September 1886 shows in its contents Fuchsia, a large, and under illustrations Fuchsia, a large at Ramsey, Isle of Man. Ramsey spelt A-Y. The illustration is a sketch by Arthur E. Smith and it covers the middle third of the page. It shows the tree much wiser than it is tall, and underneath it are two chairs. In the left-hand chair, a lady sits with a young boy. The young boy is wearing shorts or knickerbockers with what appears to be a tennis racket, and he's standing by her. And in the right-hand chair is a slightly older girl, presumably the boy's sister, and they're with their, mother, grandmother, perhaps nurse or governess. To the left of the tree is a lady looking inward towards the chairs. Perhaps that's the children's mother. And to the right, looking in, is a man with a garden implement, a mower perhaps, but he looks rather dandified for a gardener, so perhaps the children's father. And I'm not sure whether Arthur E. Smith actually ever saw it or whether he's just drawing some sort of general picture for the illustration. Sean is yn sgil mychion Rapunzel. As gair de fel sy'n ôl a chris Rapunzel mor enam y feneg sy sgil sio, si enam e bys cwrit de lws nies, a slai ie, ma soch de gladder fai, as de slai grey, gladder een rish. Ma so gladder een sien lws vis en mis it nies Rapunzel. Sio taich de sgil. Gyrt de rauw y dynja bech y merische ven chesje. As rish ford of a mien ex on lianu. Ach, ons verdeel. Eg gerre a taiok for gere eilen ledden jane the lotherian as blaen sprau. Ach for bolle eud, ulje me gietemush, as chalios de pech beagles jach on. Erno de bolesh bwitch jane yard moorway, as roiv and cledden tail goil al. Ladder out tref an ben cheshen a shadow egen onjug, as Jane stjach gere, honneki immer ledden Jane gladder een share, as go oer, as go glas for Jane, de rawi gold toyer de giri perche, as for jere be korb mien de moor, shen morwee, rish regeren lay. Well, rather more relaxing music this time, and weather-wise perhaps back to wishful thinking, because it's Greg Jochen and the Mollock Band with Nice Sunny Day One.
Cloud broke on a winter's day, when a little ray of sunshine came my way. Took the blues and put them in the sky. For what I was given that day, I could never say why. Nice sunny day one, fine times for you, with a little wish from me. May you live in this day forevermore. Reach out, take my hand, and I'll show you how to run over the sand. Fly a swan across the sky, sit on a cloud and look out over the land. Nice sunny day one, fine times for you, with a little wish from me. May you live in this day forevermore. played a game and called it fun in the silver rain and the golden sun. A rainbow's in a diamond ring and the pigment of all imagination. Nice sunny day one, fine times for you, with a little wish from me. May you live in this song forevermore.
Nice sunny day one, written and sung by Greg Jochen with the Mollig Band, and more from Greg Jochen later. No draw fisseg y ben chesje na vodach I gedden y gladder een, vi gol new, as henki de vei ben as trimshach. Eis van jou eis eg yn dynje as vrije, kyrrit bys gynna wat me ben chesje wien? O, dregerish, nim gedden bes man a wel pert jen gladder een shen em de I, vis ges a gere, chow hulu jen taiain. Ren and dunja, as grai moer ege de vier ori, smunnin rishen heen, rosh me bim harltach de call me ven chesje, nim gedden pert jay and gladder een, creer beef, vis an iris jay. Maar so se chirach renne drappel hersje bolle, a stiach ons gere a witch. Renne plugge de sairach ledden dorn de gladder een, as renne corlesje gus a venchesje ege. Renne gladdan jay chalirach, as gia jay whish as van mienli. Ach renne go whish boge jay as va blas go my ege, and lae gain vi cor mien de three whish as vi rai. Now, the compositors of the Gardener's Chronicle have misread the contributor's handwriting. The headline and text refer to Balme, the Balme estate. The compositor has seen the UR of Ballure and mistakenly made an M of those two letters. Well, I'll make the substitution and tell you that the heading reads, Fuchsia Tree at Ballure House, Ramsey, Isle of Man. The spelling of Ramsey is correct this time. The text reads, We illustrate above a large fuchsia, Fuchsia magellanata coccinea, which is 15 feet high and has a girth of 80 feet. This tree was planted either in the year 1834 or 1836 by a girl at that time in the service of a Miss Judith Christian, the then owner of the Ballure estate, fuchsias being at that time somewhat rare in the neighbourhood. When the cutting was obtained, the girl made a hole in the ground with a poker, and in it the slip was planted. The soil is very rich about the district, and roses are generally to be seen on the Manx cottage walls at Christmas time. The early music group La Moresca playing a traditional tune from Cornwall about a mermaid, Morvoren, a tune that they learned from Richard Trethewey.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Siordiw stasiwn yn asiwn ys gynawr y sien radio fanning, as yn sio se Claare na Gael ys golwr sgelia mach, Meryn Peen, Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert y Corslach.
Did the other hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Rys siacht yn lwg dy Claare na Gael gulda creel yn chyrchir sio, ta ced o deis diach ri rish in y deg y radio fanning. Rys brw y craman eis rish, as dy rôl y enmyn rhaid yn sien. The podcast Jane Claire vis regaden nasty through the Nedega Radio Vanning, na trud Kierder and Podcast Elia, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. The Gardener's Chronicle article is signed George P. Well, it's signed GEO, full stop, P, full stop. More of George P. anon. The Ballure fuchsia was planted in the time of Judith Christian, that little article said, and the Ballure estate was long associated with the Christian family. Oh, from Ballure then, now, just a little further down, we reach the ancient Ramsey town, where now her prestige and renown. When Gibson's sturdy enterprise had made her with industrial guise the cynosure of neighbouring eyes. A cynosure, something brilliant that attracts attention. Well, John Taggart was a Liverpool shipwright, and with two others, Charles Humberston and Samuel Frodsham, they developed a shipyard in Ramsey from 1831. John Taggart's barn north of the Sulby River was used for religious meetings, and out of that Christian community came St Olave's Church in Ramsey, of which the foundation stone was laid in 1861. The church itself opened in 1870. Well, Taggart, Humberston and Frodsham's enterprise collapsed in 1837, went bankrupt. It was taken over the following year by Thomas Cummings Gibson. Ma bech feir byd y beiec, fech yn dunia drapel herish bol y cyr telia. Ma saw hias a chirach rish. As chaus fe drapel back, Honneke, dol tajamach a witch na shadow rosh, as fe achlit as, as Gillia lesh corri, Gilly ish, lesh corri ons na sulinak, gislios dot drapel harish as stiachsa gera gurish gaddy, as gaija gladder einem, bein droch curish ort the jaru. Oh, dregere, be machinach shabi kerach, charawi jintem mach true daiden. No de vac me ven jesje a gladder ned, tre gian mach as an unig, as chwish van yiri currichori de berging edden bes, man a doddy gedden per JD. Dorten bitch. Ma bis eolje mortau grey, ta kid ed goil chwish gladder as babailiat, ongenend. Sein den nien higs jachse tail, they courage dus. Near gold a mile a feature, as nim goil carelgi mor yenach moir. Now the Irish quartet Course sing about Jimmy Mavila Store, which translates as something like Jimmy, my thousand loves.
Here
Irish love song Jimmy Mavila Store, played by the quartet Coors, with the vocal on that song by Maeve Niviogli. Chysig nuts an aidnum or rei, ren and dunja cor Gael and jay de chulja rid. As tre henken tre, as van page ruggage, ren of which chitrish. As ish cor enem Rapunzel an yin, wissen unrid as gladder een, gawi suli Mary. For Rapunzel na pages sailors a tale. Trevi devlin jeg de eish, ren of which duna istiach ons tour ons main jay keel. As gerau de Grecian na Doris day, weg ach unjeg weg erd. Treven which giri cause na stiach on, weg in the shadow hies, as jinnige gillach maag, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, lig she's the fault. Wat fault ellen jourig Rapunzel ren sail sheen mor air. Trechili Korea which jinnige fasle sneggen unjeg hoes, njau fi klachten na faultek, as lig a sheeserish feed ellen fo, as jinnige which drappelsoes ljorishen. Look thou berges en ach shore is kust of Linton, hagere gauws we makkerie mark Gertruden Gael, de denkeg as a tour. Thomas Cummings Gibson was from Gateshead. It seems it was a business interest in Ramsey. William and Constance Radcliffe could only find him as a resident for a short time in the 1860s, but his business interest in shipbuilding in Ramsey gave a boost to the town, and from the 1830s he was said to be employing 100 men. In 1854 he announced that he would pay for a special slipway which make it much easier to deal with vessels in for repair, and the patent slip opened in 1856. Meanwhile, it was also he who developed Marsden Terrace to accommodate shipyard workers, and that had been opened in 1855. He installed a forge and blacksmith shop, and the yard was able to launch iron-hulled ships from 1863, including that year famously the Euterpe, which, as the Star of India, is the centerpiece of the San Diego Maritime Museum in California, and is now the world's oldest active sailing vessel, having been launched from Ramsey shipyard. However, the shipyard fell into disuse, or perhaps into use for just smaller vessels, from about 1867. A song from Wales now, as Lucy Rivers sings about Nant y Mynydd and plays her fiddle here with Dan Lawrence on guitar.
Ballure.
Lucy Rivers and Dan Lawrence, the duo Olion Bew, and the song Nanta Mynydd. The role of Thomas Cumming Gibson in the direction of the Ramsey shipyard helps to explain what William Gell writes now, starting with a little pun or wordplay. With iron will did he engage to stand abreast this iron age, which then had reached its earliest stage. Recked not expenditure of cash to make the furnace roar and flash, with bellows blast and anvils clash. And Douglas sent delightful trips, such time they launched the goodly ships in graceful sliding down the slips. Alas, no more, as Dibdin sang, do brawny smiths the anvils bang, no more the ponderous hammers clang. Well, Charles Dibdin, about 1745 to 1814, was an English composer, musician, dramatist, novelist, singer and actor. He wrote about 600 songs in all, and that's possibly there quoting from one called The Anchor Smiths. However, vanished the scene of vigorous push, stilled the old shipyard's roar and rush, its life exchanged for a gloomy hush. The forge is quenched, the hammers mute. Chouds vermakke reach het verden toer, gele correb a goiler enige millish, de chasig in gleisiach, as renne clashen ri. Grenny geestiach ri. She Rapunzel sa fedene dek va gebe corsha and tre lesher en and millish. Vermakke ri gierig golstjach on hook, as jiche de redden dorrestjach sa toer. A grauwel je dan. Maar so barke de valje. Ach, van een ren, snuistjach se griege, as daaglui bij golge se geel, as bij geestjach rish. Keert er ook houds win a jade wan shen voor wilje, honnek ge a witch chitkas en toer, as renne geestjach houds dilje mach, o Rapunzel, Rapunzel, lig schiest de fault. Esh honneke en achren Rapunzel jige schiest na skegen ljouwer ek, as an achren a witch drappel soes ljoru, as renny golstjach on hoek, as doter ischen heen, node wel shennen ere, njem drappel soes as feathen mach wel echt bij arm. Scottish band Dive with the pipes of Angus Mackenzie. Angus Mackenzie hailing from Cape Breton on the east coast of Canada. And the name of the area, Nova Scotia, of course, gives a clue to a very strong influence in that area.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yr asiwn radio fannin, sé Claare na Gael vis Claas and Cartnish, as mish Robert Cadine Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you heard tell of our Bobby Bob?
As the na lech o lees van colliert is called Toyach der Veon, haig as a tour, as deme, O Rapunzel, Rapunzel, lig she's the fault. As ren lig she's the fault ek, as ren mackerie drappel soos ljorish. Var Rapunzel fo al moe tre honneki der au dunje jetstjach ook, non rau I riu nagen fair rai. Ach, rau mackerie toyach de lotrige kindjel, as dintje gi en ach van reinek snaustjach se kriege, na dod she wege derre wege nagen is sheen. Esh, je roed Rapunzel en Alec, as tre braie G de haige Jason mar a dunje sheshek, as honneki de raue egg as buech, renny smunyon riheen. Son shigeris, shell jam eshen as shan voir gothel, shan enam a witch, as huggy a lau ex a lau egge, as doorty. Vaiden leden hareltach de gol merts, ach en elfis emmer nach podem chas na mach as. Trenny u chit korliat dach hiert Ted Shija, as Niemera. Well, William Gell talks of the forges quenched, the hammers mute. The Moorach Lake, the new pursuit, forms but a sorry substitute. Well, that seems a bit chalk and cheese somehow, although I suppose the Moorach Park was industrial in that it was catering for the tourist industry. Well, Ramsey shipyard had its downs, but it had its ups as well, and has had successful years alongside the Moorach Park, so I don't think Gell is quite on it here, suggesting development of the Moorach as some sort of substitute for the work of the shipyard. The 200-acre Moorach area was really a tidal swamp when it was bought by Ramsey commissioners in 1881. In 1887, it opened as an attractive pleasure ground, which has proved just as popular with the populace as with visitors over the years. And Gell continues now. Another record on this page, from manhood's prime to honoured age, good Parson Peyton did engage to do his heavenly master's will, all things to all his maxim still, thus strove his mission to fulfil. We'll come back to good Parson Peyton, but now Breton singer Gwenin sings a song about a gift or an offering, donaison.
L'arrête-toi, Bétine, te fais emmener. M'avait fait par Ziska, argarum tes trison. L'arrête-toi, Bétine, rongfen tes vel. Agarogente, abedovon. Disque-toi, Bétine, non son aben. Gadarwana, comme ziva, bidma en zedazon. Disque-toi, Bétine, chez là où est marron. Hebderel comme de son tuduques, non Pesio, hawas condu da hiu. Goulet-toi, Bétine, Christau de vos guerres. Nazifen malor, à ma grandeur. Goulet-toi, Bétine,
A bit of pop in the Breton language by Gwenin, who's from Rennes, and that was called Donaison, a gift. In looking at the Gardener's Chronicle, that brief reference to the Ballure House fuchsia tree was signed off as George P., and I think this is the Reverend George Peyton. He was born in 1834 in Thurso in Scotland, but his parents retired to the island in 1853, and they built Ormley Hall in what's now North Ramsey on the Bride Road. George Peyton took holy orders and was ordained in 1864. His first appointment was as curate in the converted Taggart's Barn, the St Olave's community meeting there, whilst the church was being built, opening, as I mentioned earlier, in 1870. And then in 1871, George Peyton went as chaplain to St Paul's Church in Ramsey, and he held that chaplaincy for the rest of his life. He managed to get pew rents abolished because he felt the church should be free and open. He married Ellen Mulray Farrant of Ballacallingan. He was a great campaigner for poor relief, for education, for sanitation, for the Oddfellows in supporting the working people, for the lifeboat and for various other causes. Treten a siege jint de bollach nim cost na nús liorish mach as a tour, as neos corlesh mir soul a chabeled. Renned Cordale de jinnach chit dach faster beg, noder awen chan ven chit solai. Mar so rau visser beeg a witch so der a doort Rapunzel g kuurt de rau gin toort, ma voir gothel, kreinach tau drappel soos geshaw gemol, as de macarie hoes en shaw merem on shallage. Oh, ma feitje olk, dilly a witch, crave a short a me de glashen, van me smunnion de rau me a hielten u wines kledden sail, as tawis a vrat me. Sa choriek, gawi Rapunzel lesh Grimm a polteilenek, runny boele kuste geerden lesh a lau gerek, as esh lesh Grimmek pyre de jouwsens a lau yeshek, snip snap, van a skeggen eilen in lair a lair. As ha krijgriach wij, de renny Gael Rapunzel, as huggy ons bol verdenach, mor fezachi. This song of Greg Jockin's now mentions a daffodil, so it's a bit late to be getting round to that, but we are, because it's a lovely song anyway. The Sparrow's Tale.
Sometimes sad tales are better left untold, until the stars have grown old. Let the wind and rain take time to wash away the pain. Then one day in the morning, one day in the night, one day maybe see the light. A greedy beetle grabbed a little moth and kept her bound. Hey ho, said, look at what I've found. Then he made a pledge and took her down underneath the hedge. He kept her in the morning, kept her in the night. Young eyes would never see the light. A fee-fi-fo-fum, the beetle cries, now here I come. You can't hide and you can't run. Then he told her why and said, your time is now mine. The greedy beetle turned the little moth against her will into a daffodil. Cheer up, the tawny sparrow sings. I've heard tell of worse things. I listened to his song and what went wrong with little saffron wings. The clouds are lined with silver, all the lanes are paved with gold. Down the road we both must go.
Greg Jockin and his song The Sparrow's Tale. Waar Rapunzel eignet de weg is de wolf verdenach shen, as trimsje moer as traie sorry. An leach hedyn as ren a witch Gael Rapunzel shul, high back as a tour san jaster beg, as renny kjall as skeggen garrit a fault, restore nen an unyeg. Now, the Reverend George Peyton was a high churchman at a time when the Manx church was generally low church evangelical, but Peyton had a strong personality, and whilst always affable, courteous, pleasant, he was in fact very acute in argument, and he was not afraid to say what he thought and to fight his corner. He was in fact a very skillful arguer. He died in 1900 and was greatly lamented throughout Ramsey. As I say, he was a great campaigner for the poor of the town, for poor relief, for education for the poor, for sanitation, and the working people in general being supported by the Oddfellows and various other causes. So that's the Reverend George Peyton, who supplied that article about the grand fuchsia tree in Ballure House, the gardens there. As I say, I'm not sure that actually, although there's an illustration of it, I don't think the person ever actually saw it, and I don't suppose that it even got as far as having a photograph taken of it. It was just well, what would you call it? I suppose an artist's impression, perhaps, of the tree, and I don't suppose that the people that I described as being under the tree and around it were, in fact, anything related to Ballure House or to the great fuchsia tree of the Ballure. Well, now, Chris Pearson is waiting in the wings to bring you 2 hours of the best chill-out music for your Sunday evening from 7 to 9 o'clock, and then at 9 o'clock Judith Lay will be here to present Sundown, and that will take you through into Monday morning. Now, Claare Gael comes to a close with the harp and fiddle duo Trelva. Trelva is the Cornish word for a turning point. And here they play Ollan Gerio and Trencrom, 2 tunes from Cornwall. Ach nish tashin a jitgus jera and trean, and so until the next time then, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert Carslach.
Old Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night, Eve I'm a chriort, as duts my Yerian share.